Hey guys, my name is Ben. For the past year and a half, I've been flipping and selling custom gaming computers. Today, I'm going to teach you how you can too. Let's get into it. So one thing you need to be aware of before you really start jumping into Facebook or OfferUp and buying all these parts and flipping computers is the makeup of your area. You need to be aware of who makes up your population. So being aware of parameters like age, income, location, things like that. How much money are people going to have to spend on extra things like gaming computers? Are you around a lot of older people? Are you near a college campus? Would you be selling to college kids, teenagers, parents buying for their kids? All these things you kind of need to take in mind before you start going and buying components. And one easy way to kind of filter out all these parameters is to go onto Facebook, type in gaming PC or gaming computer, gaming desktop, and sort the availability by sold, and just see what's been selling in the area as of recent, in the past week or the past month. Is it office computers? Is it work computers? Are they gaming computers? Low-end, high-end gaming computers? Just see what's selling and kind of evaluate where you could be making the most money. So step 2 we're going to be looking at right now is now looking for hardware. So we've affirmed that there's a population of interest who are interested in buying computers in your area. That was step 1. Let's go on to step 2. So step 2, we're looking for hardware. What are we buying new? What are we buying used? So I'll run down an example build that I'm putting together right now to sell on Facebook Marketplace. Alright, so usually a good place to start is for looking for a motherboard or CPU to kind of build your system around. I kind of think of it as the foundation for every single build that I list. So here's an example of something that I bought recently. This is an i7-8700K. It came with a CPU cooler, a B350 motherboard, I believe, and 16 gigs of DDR4 clocked at 2400 megahertz. And I picked this up for $110 locally. It was a pretty good deal. And so what's nice about this is that you don't have to go looking around for other parts. You don't have to go looking for the RAM individually. You don't have to go looking for the cooler or motherboard or CPU individually. Buying in combos also gives you room to negotiate. I saw this guy listing this for, I believe it was $160, and I said, would you take it for $100 locally? And he was like, well, would you take 110? And I was like, alright, that's fine, I'll settle for 110. So I picked this up for 110. And it was a really good deal. So I would start with looking for motherboard, CPU, RAM combos, but if not, you can always look for the parts individually. Next, let's talk about cases. So the case that I kind of use for base for most of my builds is the Montech X1 with a glass panel. It's got 4 RGB fans, and my local Micro Center in Cambridge usually has them in stock. If you're not local to a Micro Center or to a computer store, you can find these on Amazon. I believe they're $10 more. But they're still pretty decent cases. They come with a side glass panel, like I said, 4 static rainbow RGB fans. It's pretty roomy. They're kind of cheaply built, but people don't really seem to care. So I picked these up open box for around $30 to $20 when they are open box sale at Micro Center. If not, you can always buy stuff off of Amazon or Newegg, but I would always look for your cases new. So you get all the screws, you make sure the glass is clean and not broken, and make sure that everything's working. So I would recommend buying the case new. So next, let's talk power supplies and storage drives. And these are 2 things, or 2 pieces of hardware that I always tend to buy new off of Amazon or refurbished on Amazon from Amazon Warehouse or eBay or OfferUp or any of those places. And I tend to buy them new just because there's a lot of variability, and when you buy them used, power supplies could have missing power cables, they could be faulty, and it's always good to have some sort of kind of warranty backed up by Amazon or the seller when you buy a power supply. As for storage drives, you don't really know what could be on them, and I know that sounds kind of strange, but I just like to have the peace of mind buying them new, straight from a manufacturer. I've had instances before where people tried to send me like crooked NVMEs or like bent NVMEs. So I always like to buy them off of Amazon because they're super lenient in their return policy. If something comes wrong, just send it back like the next day. But I always buy these 2 pieces of hardware new. So next, let's talk GPUs, and of course these are going to be a bit more expensive. They are still kind of inflated from the massive GPU price increase of the pandemic, but they're kind of starting to level out in terms of the used market, or in terms of price as well. I don't have the 3060 I bought for this build on me. That's coming in the mail right now. Spent $150 on it. I negotiated this guy. He was decently local, but on the other side of Massachusetts. He had listed it for $200. So I lowballed $150, and he was like, alright, because he hadn't had it sold in like a week or so. So always buy graphics card new, used. you're not going to find really any good deals on them new, and it's going to really reduce your profit. If you're spending $400 on a 3060 right now, which is a price that's way too inflated, I'd value a 3060 right now at about $250. If you're buying those for like $400, that removes automatically a chunk of like $150 from that total profit. So this is just a placeholder right now. It's a 650 Ti. I know it's not slightly comparable to the 3060 in any single way. But always buy your graphics card used. You can ask the seller to send you benchmarks or stress test, even a software or even like a program like GPU-Z, like the results from that. Just always make sure that you're getting confirmation that the GPU works before they ship it out, or you buy it locally. So what we're looking at right here is my Facebook splash screen when I just typed in 3060 PC. And obviously there's going to be some other hardware kind of thrown in. So if we look at the top over here, this is some more local stuff. So let's click on this guy's listing. He has it listed as an i5 motherboard combo. It's $150. It looks like what he's gotten is an i5 6500, 8 gigs of DDR4, which isn't enough. I should stress you need 16 gigs of RAM in any single system you sell. It's not like the system is not going to boot without 16 gigs, but it's become the modern standard. Most games are going to run sluggishly if they are a bit more demanding without 16 gigs of RAM. So you need 16 gigs of RAM, but it wouldn't cost much to just throw another 16 in there. And he's got an MSI B150 motherboard. So scrolling through the pictures, he's got a picture of the overall combo right here, of the CPU, of the motherboard, and of the RAM. So everything looks good. So he's got it listed for $150. If this was listed one day ago, he'd probably decline a lowball offer. But it looks like it's been listed for about a week and a half. So if I was to move in on this deal, what I would do is this is the phrase I would use, I would say, hey man, would you take $110 shipped for this combo? And always use the word shipped. That's going to imply that you're talking about including the price of shipping with the money that you send them. And a note on sending money, while we're on that, always make sure you are sending money through buyer protection programs. Most commonly, I use PayPal's goods and services. Very heavily favors the buyer, so you are always in the favor. I think Venmo now has a program for buyer protection, but never, 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 when you are buying things, especially shipped, you usually can when you're buying locally if somebody is right next to you. They've shown proof that the item works. I feel comfortable paying them with cash or Cash App or PayPal with no buyer protection. But if you're buying something shipped, like this thing, from a guy with no reviews, always push for buyer protection. Do not send this guy money if it is not with buyer protection. So use PayPal goods and services. Like I said, I believe Venmo has a system now, but never use Cash App, never use Zelle, never use Venmo without buyer protection, never use PayPal without buyer protection when you're buying things. Because essentially with those forms of payment, once you send this guy money, he could take it and run. And PayPal at that point, or Cash App or Zelle or whoever you use, takes their hands off the keyboard and they say, I can't help you. Because there's no buyer protection. It's like you sending it to your mom for gas. You're not sending it to this guy for gas, you're sending it for components. So always make sure you are buying with buyer protection enabled. So what I have pulled up right here is my listing page, and so these are some of the PCs that I've listed kind of in the past week and a half. And as you can see, the prices kind of vary, but they stick around the same area. This is where I found my population parameter kind of tends to generate the most profit. So you can see I'm selling 1070 Ti systems, 1070 systems, RX 580 systems. I have a passive ad up here which kind of attracts buyers in. Scrolling down, this is another RX 580 system, sold kind of during Christmas time. I priced it kind of cheaply because it wasn't selling. 970 system, 1060 system, 3060 Ti system. I was doing higher end builds for a while, but I'm finding more success in this kind of price range. So what I do is just kind of generally, I price my systems about $50 to $75 more than I think that they are actually valued to see if I get any offers for that high. If not, I'm always open to negotiation. If people want to negotiate prices, I'm more than okay with that. But we'll have a look inside one of the listings. I'll open up this top one right here. Let's go to edit listings so you guys can see what I've been doing. So I have some pictures up here. I'm not sure why these are blurry on this page, but they're normal on the regular marketplace. So I have one right here. Always make sure you're taking clear pictures of your system, make it look nice, kind of take it from a lower angle to make it look imposing. One right here just of a general kind of like side view with the front fans, a little bit more of like an imposing down view, picture of the RAM and the cooler. One includes the graphics card, the front fans, the back I/O, and then we're back at the beginning. So I always organize my titles like this. I put gaming PC first, because people are going to see that first and go like, okay, well this is a gaming PC. And then I put the graphics card and the CPU combo. Those are the two things people look at the most. So I have GTX 1070 Ti, i7's 4770K, and then I always put in little asterisks just builds, just so people know that it hasn't been sitting around for like a month. I've just put it together and it's just now going on the marketplace. So I priced it at $650. How you can kind of evaluate this is by going on eBay, kind of seeing what stuff goes for at bids. So I spent, I believe, I spent $225 on a computer with all the stuff in it, and then I bought a case for $50, transferred all the stuff to a new case, so I spent around $275 on the system, so I'd be making some pretty decent profit if I sold it around the $600 mark, or even around the $580 mark. Always list the processor type, the RAM capacity, and the hard drive capacity, or your solid state drive as well. And then I have a little kind of like intro right here. I tell them that this is like one of my latest builds. It features these two things, and then I'll do a little kind of like benchmark overview. So I'll say like Fortnite around this, Roblox, Minecraft, Assassin's Creed, COD, GTA 5, kind of run down what they'd average in terms of FPS. Tell them that there's 4 fans that come with the build, and then I outline the entire list of specs. And you don't really need to do anything. I don't really include the motherboard. Sometimes I don't include the power supply because people aren't really looking at those, especially when you're selling to a parent or a kid who doesn't know much. So if it suffices, it suffices, is how I put it. I always tell them that Wi-Fi is built into the motherboard. Most motherboards, if you're not familiar, do not have Wi-Fi directly built in. You need a Wi-Fi card or a USB Wi-Fi adapter. And then I always tell them too that if 3 days after the build, if there's something going on or hardware related, I'm not a software guy, so I can't really help with software stuff. But if like a power supply fails, or an AIO fails, or the fan stops working, or the case stops working, or if there's like a blue screen that's related to hardware, that I will take it back and fix it for them because I think that's only fair. I remind people that no trades, please. I tell them that pickup is always going to be at the local police station, and I've recently started doing a coffee shop that has lots of people around it. But always sell and buy stuff at police stations if there's one near you. That is one of your best bets just for safety. And tags as well, these are pretty important. These are just kind of keywords that people could put in that would bring them to your listing. So I have pre-built PCs, pre-built gaming PCs, GTX, kind of like those big like bold like PC words, RTX, GTX, FPS, RGB, all these things that people would kind of like put in to find a cool gaming PC. I've kind of included here to help kind of people gravitate towards my listing. So I'll exit out of here. And the same goes, I use the same exact template for all my builds, and it's worked pretty well. So some final notes I'll just leave you with. When you are going to sell a computer, make sure you're doing it at a police station or somewhere public. If somebody asks you to test it out, if they have an outlet there, what I'll do is I'll plug it in and just show them that it turns on. I don't bring a monitor with me, I think that's kind of overkill. Always take your payment in cash. I don't like getting payment online. I just don't think it's, like, I don't know. I think it's more complicated. It's easier to have them handy cash, give them the computer, walk away, deal's over. So I say cash is king, cash only please, in terms of buying, or sorry, in terms of selling stuff. But always meet at police stations, know your market, find good deals on hardware, lowball if it's been up for a while, and kind of see what you can do. Hobble some systems together, sell them for a decent profit margin, and let me know if you guys have any other questions.